wait a minute, what makes you think these people who show up and call themselves Jews or call themselves the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, what makes you think they actually are? I mean, anyone can make these claims. Now, I know the Israelis want to think of themselves as a peaceful and unsuspecting people. And I know that many of the evangelicals who love and adore and pledge their allegiance to Israel also view them as a peaceful and unsuspecting people. But I think, let's think about that a little bit more critically. Let's challenge this view. What if modern Israel is not the Israel of the prophecy? What if Gog and Magog aren't Iran and Russia? But what if it's us? What if we're the ones? Now, hear me out. Let's go back to that key phrase from Ezekiel, a land of unwalled villages, peaceful and unsuspecting. Does that sound like today's Israel to you? Israel is heavily fortified with one of the most powerful militaries in the world. It has walls, checkpoints, border control, surveillance, nuclear weapons, and U.S. military backing. It regularly launches airstrikes and drone attacks and military campaigns, including in Gaza, Libya, Lebanon, Syria, and Iran. They're far from unsuspecting. In fact, they're a people that are in constant wartime readiness. They make every single one of the Israelis join the military, serve in the military. They're constantly ready for war. They're constantly waging war. This does not seem like a land of unwalled villages, peaceful and unsuspecting at all. So who today looks more like this vulnerable people living without walls? And let's also go back to the descriptor of a people from the exact one gathered from the nations. Now, you could say, yeah, but these Israelis, they come from all over, whereas like the Palestinians, for example, they've been there for all that time. They're not gathered from all the nations, but instead the Israelis are. They're gathered from all the nations. But what if we're misinterpreting that? The nations could be the tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, 10 of which were lost, 10 of which were scattered, or the 10 that were lost, there were 2 that we know of that were driven out, and that is like the modern day Israel. The modern day Jews come from the 2 tribes that remained, that were then driven out of Israel by the Romans and scattered all around the world.
Well, did you accept that you accepted that black people are Jew? Or
No, I'll come to that in a moment.
Brothers and sisters, blacks of America, it's you. You are the true Hebrews. You are the true Hebrews from the Bible.
But there were 10, which is way more than 2. There were 10 other tribes that were lost. Now, when they say they were lost, what does that mean in biblical terms? That just means they no longer identified as Jews, that they were lost to other cultures, other religions. But if you believe in the biblical prophecy that Abraham and Isaac and Jacob were promised that their children, that their many generations of children would inherit this land, nothing in that interpretation says, and they must identify as Jews and they must practice futuristic Judaism, which is rabbinic Judaism, which looked nothing like the Judaism of the time of the tribes. But nonetheless, like nothing in that interpretation says any of that. It just says your genetic kids are eventually going to inherit this land. It doesn't say anything about how they identify, what they call themselves, what religion they practice. So what if the modern day Palestinians are the lost tribes?
So
it's been proved.
So the Jewish people in Israel will be referred to as the descendants of the Jewish people in Africa, and not the other way around.
Not on the other way. Difficult to make it admitted by them.
Black people can't be anti-Semitic. We are Jew. You understand what I'm saying? We are Jew. So cool out. Until you do your facts, until you really do the facts with the fake indoctrination that y'all pull into the schools and all that, you know what I'm saying? We're not following y'all rules.
The people, the 12 different lands, the 12 different nations that made up the nation of Israel, the 12 different nations, what if the Palestinian people, the people living in that land, they're the ones gathered from the nations. They're the people who have now gathered from the nations, and they're living in a land of unwalled villages, and they are a peaceful and unsuspecting people with no gates or bars. And they were invaded by people from all around the world. They came from the north, they came from the south, they came from everyone. Suddenly, all of these people showed up on their shores, hostile people, and said, we're taking over, and we're here, and it's our land now. God said so. And they started to attack this group of peaceful people who were living, Muslims, Jews, and Christians all living together peacefully at the time, constantly under attack by other nations, whether it be the British Empire or the Ottoman Empire. They've just been an unsuspecting, peaceful people, never, just trying to live their lives, and all of these empires come along and try to take over. So what if we're actually talking about, we are the bad guys, and it's actually the indigenous people, the people who stem from the actual 12 tribes of Israel, the 10 lost tribes. What if they're the ones that are needing the defense and they're the unsuspecting people? So when you look at, they're the ones, the Palestinian people, they're the ones who are being bombed, starved, evicted, left with no defense. The people of Yemen, also Gaza, Syria, even you could even kind of say just around that region, the poor that are being under attack. Now let's look at Gog again. Gog leads in the prophecy a powerful multi-nation coalition. Gog, and they say, Gog comes from the far reaches of the north. Well, we could be considered far reaches of the north. I mean, we're certainly from America, the far reaches of the north. It does mention Persia. We have military bases all around what would have been Persia at the time of this prophecy when it was written. Persia was larger than just the nation of Iran. It encompassed a lot of areas. So Gog leads a powerful multi-nation coalition. Gog invades and surrounds a weaker land for plunder. Gog is destroyed by divine justice, which hasn't happened yet because the prophecy obviously hasn't been fulfilled, which is what they're looking for. But the question is, if this prophecy were to be real, who would actually get destroyed by God and saved by God?
Brothers and sisters, blacks of America, it's you. You are the true Hebrews. You are the true Hebrews from the Bible. America gonna do everything, gonna invest as much money as it has, gonna fight as much wars as they can, gonna invite as much weapons as they can, just to hide this away from you.
The most dangerous place for a black person in America is actually in our mother's stomachs, because 50% of black deaths a year in America is abortion currently.
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism, with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
The major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community. Black Lives Matter starts there. I had last week a sit-down dinner at my house with 70 people, which are considered the leadership of the black community.
But the question is, if this prophecy were to be real, who would actually get destroyed by God and saved by God from this multinational powerful force? So could Gog actually be the US, Israel, NATO, and allied regimes, military superpowers who surround and attack weaker nations, the true descendants of the Israelite tribes? Could that be the case? And that is something that evangelicals, Christians don't think about. They don't critically think about, wait a minute, what makes you think these people who show up and call themselves Jews or call themselves the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, what makes you think they actually are? I mean, anyone can make these claims.
Without getting too semantic, or at the risk of getting too semantic, does it matter that the Jews are not Semites, or does this phrase anti-Semitism just means hatred for the Jewish people? They're Ashkenazi, they're Eastern European Jews.
What makes you think they actually are? I mean, anyone can make these claims.
I'm about to show you something extremely controversial. It's even illegal in the state of Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, my DNA. Now, I bet you thought it was going to be a lot crazier than that.
This TikTok caused a storm online, with many debating what his results, which show no trace of being from Palestine or the Middle East, despite being Jewish, mean. DNA testing to prove Jewish ancestry is a hot-button political issue in Israel. For example, Israel's chief rabbinate has pushed for the ancestry DNA tests to be allowed to prove Jewishness in certain cases. In particular, many Jews who have emigrated to Israel from the Soviet Union, who may not have had the necessary paperwork that shows they are Jewish, have sought to get genetic tests done to show they are Jews. In 2019, a political scandal erupted when it appeared Russian Jews were secretly submitting DNA tests to the rabbinate in order to obtain the right to move to Israel.
What makes you think they actually are? I mean, anyone can make these claims. The American Jewish Committee says anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Here it is.
There's outrageous amounts of anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, anti-Jew.
Whatever the worst thing to be in society at the time, that's what the Jews are labeled as.
Colonizer, genocider.
That's modern anti-Semitism.
And that's a worldwide problem.
Anti-Semitism has no place in our world.
My name is Ariel Martin.
Elon Gold.
Jennifer Jason Lee.
And I stand with Israel.
And the Jewish people.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Okay, so anti-Zionism is anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. All of that is anti-Jew. They're saying it's a worldwide problem, right? Because the world is criticizing Israel right now because they are colonizers. The world is criticizing Israel right now because they are colonizers.
The world is criticizing Israel right now because they are colonizers.
They are committing crimes against humanity. So we're not allowed to say any of that. So basically, if you say anything against Israel at all, then you are anti-Semitic.
Anyone ever heard of the word anti-Semitic? What's that mean? What does that mean? Against who? Against the who? Say it one more time. Against the who? If you're anti-Semitic, you're against Jews. Where'd that come from? You know, anti-Semitic, the word only goes back to the late 1800s. As it relates to being anti-Jewish. Now, okay, now, don't throw your rocks at me. But how is it that only white Jews get to be referred to as Semitic?
What makes you think they actually are? I mean, anyone can make these claims. They also can't define what a Jew is. Let me just go ahead and read some of this to you. It says, this act may be cited as the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act of 2023. It is the sense of Congress that Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. While such title does not cover discrimination based solely on religion, individuals who face discrimination based on actual or perceived shared ancestry or ethnic characteristics do not lose protection under such title for being members of a group that share a common religion. So they admit right there that while the such title does not cover discrimination based solely on religion, which is what being Jewish is a religion, that's what it is. Being Jewish is a religion, that's what it is.
Being Jewish is a religion, that's what it is.
You can convert to Judaism. You can't convert to a blood family. You cannot convert to a race. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israelite, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time, all that he said,
I know. We don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews?
What makes you think they actually are? I mean, anyone can make these claims. So first of all, so they can't even define what a Jew is. I think that's an important definition that needs to be made if they're going to be passing laws that say you're not allowed to discriminate on the basis of something we're making up. I mean, we already have these codes that say you're not allowed to discriminate on the basis of race, color, and national origin. Okay, but that doesn't include religion. It says right now it doesn't include religion, but they're going to make it up, and they're making it up as they go. This is outrageous. We shouldn't allow them to do this. We should demand that there be a common definition for Jew. What is a Jew? There needs to be a definition to this if they're going to be making laws that hinder our lives and that infringe on our First Amendment rights. They better damn well tell us what the hell a Jew is. And they better damn well tell us what anti-Semitism is. And it can't be any criticism of a foreign country. If you criticize this particular foreign country, that is anti-Semitism, which is a form of racism and against our laws. Could you imagine if we made those laws about China or about Iran? And then we always hear this, well, Israel's the only Jewish nation. So you have a problem with Jews because you have a problem with the only Jewish nation. Well, Iran is the only Iranian nation. China's the only Chinese nation. Russia's the only Russian nation. I mean, what are we? Vietnam's the only Vietnamese nation. This is just insane. This is insane. It doesn't make any sense at all. So we're supposed to we're just being told that anti-Semitism is now criticizing Israel. Anti-Semitism is anything they want it to be. They can't even define it. They admit in this bill that they've passed through the House that there's really truly no actual protection for Jews, but they're just making it up as they go because they want to say, well, but Semites, which we shouldn't even be using that word anymore because most Jews who practice the religion of Judaism or who are culturally Jewish, even if they don't practice the Jewish religion, but they're culturally Jewish, like many are culturally Christian. Many of us celebrate Christmas, but we're not Christian. That's cultural Christianity. It is what it is, right? They can't define it. They're putting all these rules on us. We shouldn't even allow them to use the term anti-Semitism. It's not real. Most of these Jews are not Semites. What makes you think they actually are? I mean, anyone can make these claims.
Learn how to play ball. That's what the Zionists did, except instead of a baseball team, they went to try to convince the Jews that the Jewish people are a nation, like France and like Spain. We'll get a land, that's Israel, that's our stadium. We'll get baseball bats and balls, we'll create a language. They sat down to create a language because nations need languages.
Wait a minute, what makes you think these people who show up and call themselves Jews or call themselves the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, what makes you think they actually are? I mean, anyone can make these claims. And just because they identify with a particular religion, just because they claim it, doesn't mean it's actually true.
What's your thoughts? Please be respectful with your comments. Also, please click the like, click the notification bell, and subscribe to this channel.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14 verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.